Some truths are too dangerous to speak, and too painful to know. This is one of them. For decades, Michael Jackson, the king of pop, stood at the center of the world's attention. Every step, every move, every word, analyzed, debated, and immortalized. But behind the blinding glare of stage lights and the roar of millions of fans, there was another life, a quieter story, one whispered in back rooms, speculated about in tabloids, and argued over in hushed tones. Late at night, it began with a face. A young man, barely known to the public, moving through the music industry with quiet confidence. His name was Brandon Howard. An R&B artist with undeniable talent, a voice dripping with emotion, and movements so fluid, they seemed born, not learned. For most, he was just another musician trying to make his mark. But for those who looked closely, the resemblance was startling. The sharp cheekbones, the soulful eyes, the way he smiled, just slightly, before speaking, even the way he carried himself on stage, a blend of humility and magnetism that felt familiar. Fans began to ask the forbidden question, is Michael Jackson his father? For years, Brandon didn't answer, he didn't confirm, he didn't deny. The silence only fueled the fire. Video after video went viral, his voice echoing Michael's tone, his dance movements almost instinctively hitting those signature MJ beats. Die-hard fans compared photos, mannerisms, even handwriting. Was it coincidence? Or was it inheritance? And then, the moment that shook everything, a DNA test. 99.9% match. If true, it meant Michael Jackson had a secret son, and his name was Brandon Howard. The headlines exploded. Theories multiplied, but the truth was messier, darker, and more personal than the world could imagine. That single test would not only ignite a global media storm, it would unravel Brandon's understanding of his own life, and force him to confront a truth that had been hidden from him for more than 3 decades. This is not just a story about music, it's not even just about family, it's about what it means to live in someone's shadow, to have your identity shaped, twisted, and controlled by forces bigger than yourself. It's about the price of silence, and the power of finally breaking it. You're watching The Wake Up Lab, where history, mystery, and the human story collide. If you're new here, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, so you never miss an untold story. A familiar face in the crowd. Brandon Howard wasn't chasing scandal, he was chasing music. Raised in the world of R&B, he had the voice, the look, and the artistry. But there was something else, something unspoken. Every interview, every performance, people couldn't help but see Michael in him. The way he leaned into a lyric, the way he moved across the stage, these weren't acts of imitation. They were almost genetic. And the truth is, Brandon's life had always been tied to the Jackson orbit. His mother, Mickey Howard, was a celebrated R&B singer herself, and at one point, Joe Jackson, Michael's father, had been involved in guiding her career. That connection, buried in the industry's whisper network, hinted at something deeper. Growing up, Brandon's life was filled with music, but also with unanswered questions. When he asked about his father, answers were vague, inconsistent, or avoided entirely. The people around him seemed to know something, but no one would say it. That silence became the background noise of his life. The Billie Jean Theory. In 1983, Michael Jackson released Billie Jean, a song about a woman who claimed he was the father of her child, a claim he publicly denied. To most, it was just another pop masterpiece. But among those in the know, there was speculation. 2 years earlier, in 1981, Brandon Howard had been born. His mother, Mickey, was nicknamed Billie. Fans began connecting dots, the timing, the connection between Michael and Mickey, the physical similarities. As Brandon's career grew, the whispers became an urban legend. Was Billie Jean based on a real person? And was that person Mickey Howard? The DNA test that shook the world. Then came 2014. A Beverly Hills dentist claimed to have obtained Michael Jackson's DNA from a dental device bought at auction. He compared it to a sample from Brandon. The result? A staggering 99.9% match. The world went into meltdown. Headlines screamed. Social media caught fire. For a moment, it seemed the mystery had been solved. But soon, doubts crept in. The lab supposedly involved denied any connection. Experts questioned the sample's authenticity, and the chain of custody. Brandon himself said he never authorized the test. He wasn't suing the estate. He wasn't after money, but the damage was done. Overnight, he went from rising artist to the center of a tabloid circus. The mother, who wouldn't answer when Mickey Howard finally addressed the rumors. She denied hiding a child from Michael, but sidestepped questions about whether they had been involved. Her silence on that point spoke volumes, a legacy too valuable to complicate after Michael's death. His estate became one of the most valuable in entertainment. Acknowledging a secret child could mean rewriting history and splitting an empire, worth hundreds of millions. For the Jackson family, silence was safer. The second test, and the note in early 2025. Brandon quietly took another DNA test, this time, privately, with authenticated samples and legal oversight. The result confirmed what he had always suspected. Alongside it came something unexpected. A sealed envelope, allegedly from Michael himself, meant to be given to his biological child. Inside was a credit card and a handwritten note, a silent acknowledgement from a father who could never say it out loud. Instead of celebration, Brandon felt devastation. The truth had come too late. The years of silence had taken their toll. In a decisive move, he legally changed his name, deleted all his social media, and cut ties with both the Jackson and Howard worlds. He walked away, not for money, not for fame, but for peace. For decades, Brandon Howard lived with a question mark hanging over his head. Now, he has the answer, but the cost of knowing was greater than he could have imagined. This story isn't about proving bloodlines, it's about the human need to belong, and the pain of being denied that belonging for a lifetime. If your entire life had been built on a lie, would you fight for the truth, or walk away forever? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more untold stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.